How many fish in Zelda are actually in real life? I'm talking about eels, flounders. Do they have the same habits, coloring, and habitats as they do in the real life? Well, today I will share my wife and I's research that took, I'm not kidding, literally months to answer all of these questions for all of you. But I'm gonna warn you right now, what we found and just the vast amount of fish that we had to research, it is not what we expected at all. As we go along, I will be putting the fish that we go over under real or not real respectively. That way we know at the very end just how many fish in the Legend of Zelda series is actually based in real life. And we have done this for birds, we've done this for reptiles, and we've done this for canines thus far, and now we're at fish. Anyway, at the very end of the video, we should have a nice visual of just how many fish in The Legend of Zelda are real versus not real. So grab a soda, maybe get a snack, and let's jump right into our very first fish. There are a few animal additions into the Tears of the Kingdom that were not in Breath of the Wild. And our very first fish is one of those additions to Tears of the Kingdom that were not in Breath of the Wild. This here is the Ancient Arowana. This fish is exclusive to Tears of the Kingdom, and, well, right off the bat, Mama Goron actually has a note on a fish. Already, my researcher has something to say about the fish. I'm wondering if it's going to be how disgruntled she is by the fact of sheer amount of fish we had to research. Surely it couldn't be that. This is actually really odd because she normally saves these for way later in the video, so let's see what it is. It says here, shout out to Megan Hammer 7857. If they hadn't mentioned this one in a previous video, in the birds video, we might not have caught it. And so we would have missed it. So I want to say thank you so much, Megan Hammer 7857. Well, here you go. Man, we're starting out this really nice. We're already thanking people? I wonder if I get thanked at some point. Likely not. Well, thank you, Megan Hammer, because this is a very cool fish. This is an ancient fish that lives only in the Sky Islands. And let me tell you, getting footage of this fish was quite interesting because there was only a few places that I could get footage of it. And we think it's actually a great match here to the Yellowtail Arowana, and are sometimes kept as captive decorative, despite how large they are. I mean, the Yellowtail Arowana, you must have a very big tank to be showcasing that fish. In China, Arowanas are often regarded as a symbol of luck or wealth and prosperity. I think I need to maybe get one of those for my wall because we definitely could use some wealth and prosperity here to get us through this amount of research we've got. Yeah, on second thought, I don't know if the singing fish would really help me with my research productivity. So no, let's not do that. Let's not add that to our repertoire back here. We think the Yellowtail Arowana is actually a great match for the Ancient Arowana in Tears of the Kingdom. We think the fin placement, the shape, and color all match this fish really well. And so our first fish on this list, we are saying, is 100% real. Next up, we already have one of my favorite fish that we found in this video. We have the glowing cavefish. This fish is also something that was added to Tears of the Kingdom from Breath of the Wild. If you don't know, they actually added a ton of cave systems in Tears of the Kingdom, and a lot of them had to deal with water and drainage. There's a very cool video by Annie Austin that talks about the rivers in Hyrule. It talks about that very thing. But just look at this thing, it actually glows. This thing is so beautiful in the game. And when I caught footage of this, I was literally in a cave. I had just teleported to a shrine, and then I found a whole school of these fish. It was so awesome. And honestly, when capturing footage, like, you see some really cool things, but this definitely takes the cake. These cool guys are found in caves, in the depths, and even wells throughout Hyrule. When Link cooks one of these fish, it actually causes him to glow, which could help when you're down in the depths. If you don't know what the depths are in Tears of the Kingdom, it's basically a gigantic underground place where it's incredibly dark and you can't see a dang thing. It's horrible when you first go down there. The glowing cave fish is also used to upgrade the miner's armor, which allows you to see around you a lot better. So is there a real life equivalent to this? Well, we match this to the Spinycheek Lanternfish. There are over 200 species of lanternfish, and they actually make up a large portion of the fish in the ocean. The body shape and color of the fish, well, here it's really not quite right, but they have that bioluminescent lateral line perfect going down the center of the fish. You see, the lateral line is that line that goes down the side of the fish, and almost all fish have this line. It normally contains nerves and sensory organs to detect vibrations and smell underwater. I can't even imagine what kind of smells you would smell in the deep ocean. It probably is about as bad as a teenage boy's locker room. Yeah, it's just like the bottom of the ocean just completely smells of very dirty, just got done playing football, teenage boys, and just it's a whole locker room and they haven't showered in like 20 minutes. Or even worse, maybe it smells like a convention center, like a Pokemon trading card game convention center. It's just completely full of people who smell bad. I definitely know the convention funk smell, and let me tell you, it's funky. But because there are so many lanternfish, there is probably one out there that looks like the glowing fish. So here's the thing. We couldn't unfortunately find a perfect match between the two fish. That was a huge undertaking. We would literally have to go and get a sub and start going around looking at fish. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm Papa Goron. I'm not going to fit in no sub. And I am definitely not getting no ocean for some YouTube video. That's just me. I like the mountains. Let's keep it that way. Me in the mountains, okay? Well, even though there's a vast amount of lanternfish out there, we believe right now, because there is no sort of pictures or footage that we can map to this thing, we're going to have to go with no. At least for right now. I'm sure one of you all are going to go buy a sub after this video and go find the exact fish. And you know, if you do, I will make a video about him. Now it's time for one of the most iconic fish in the Zelda franchise. And when I say that, I don't mean like one you just find out in the wild. This is a major character in the Ocarina of Time video games. We're talking about Lord Jabu-Jabu. He also shows up in the Oracle of Ages game, but let's be honest, a lot less people played that game and probably remember him more for the Ocarina of Time one. But also, did you know that Lord Jabu-Jabu, he actually has references in Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess and even Breath of the Wild? Yeah, Lord Jabu-Jabu gets around a lot in these games. Lord Jabu-Jabu is the guardian of the Zora. They worship him and he is said to protect them. He is very similar to the Deku Tree in how like the Kokiri look to him for protection. Well, except we killed the Deku Tree. Kinda. Oops. Is Lord Jabu-Jabu is not a fish. I mean, just look at his tail. Fish have a caudal fin, you know, like up and down, like this. Whales and dolphins have flukes, which are side to side, like this. Okay, so he's got a weird tail. Let's see if there's anything else about him that we could maybe map him to a fish. Even though his tail says whale, his body looks more like some sort of puffer fish before it, well, puffs. Wow! You know? And I don't mean like Puff in Dragon Quest, because that is a completely different thing that is absolutely awesome. I mean, look, don't go look up what Puff is in Dragon Quest. The closest thing we could find here to Lord Jabu-Jabu was the northern pufferfish. Can you just imagine for a second Lord Jabu-Jabu if he could puff like a pufferfish? Zora Domain would be out of water. Literally, he would just puff once and Hyrule would probably be completely flooded. Wow! The dude would just all the water out of where he lives. Anyway, we're gonna have to say this one, it's not real. So moving on. Oh, I see. As time goes on, my handwriting improves. I mean, it improves because I'm a doctor, so it improves looking like a doctor's scribbled handwriting. That says Jabu-Jabu there, so I know it doesn't look like it, but it looks like hieroglyphs, but it absolutely says Lord Jabu-Jabu. We're headed back to Tears of the Kingdom for our next fish. We are talking about the Chillfin Trout. These cool fish. You see what I did there? Cool fish. Chillfin Trout. Look, I don't have much going for me, all right? The Chillfin Trout can be caught by length in the waters of Tabantha Frontier and also in the Hebra Mountains. When Link cooks these fish, he temporarily gains heat resistance. And mapping this to a fish was kind of hard. With the fins and the body and the colors, we were trying to match this to something like a blue rainbow trout fish. But here's the thing, is that the blue rainbow trout fish isn't actually a naturally occurring fish. It's a genetic mutation. Sometimes it happens in hatcheries where they're breeding trout for food and stock lakes. The mutation results in an amazing blue color, and it's actually a great match for our fish here. So, although it's a genetic mutation and it was kind of hard to match, we are actually going to say that the Chillfin Trout, yeah, we think it's 100% real. All right, next up, we got a fish that looks awfully familiar. This here is the Sizzlefin Trout. These little fireballs swim around in hot springs of Eldon Canyon and Eldon Mountain, just vibing along, boiling in water like it's no big deal. And their special ability? Well, it's a built-in heat storage organ, because apparently fish in Hyrule come with features, like some sort of car you just bought. When Link cooks one up, it gives him cold resistance because, well, eating something spicy in Zelda works exactly like it would in real life if you were putting on a jacket. Now, I know what you're thinking. Haven't we seen this fish before? And yes, you would be right. We actually think the Sizzlefin Trout is a perfect match for the rainbow trout that does not have the genetic mutation. But here's where things get weird. The rainbow trout, they actually thrive in cold water. If anything, they'd probably look at the Sizzlefin's trout's lifestyle and file a complaint with nature. So maybe, just maybe, the rainbow trout have a little cold resistance of their own. I mean, have you ever seen a fish wearing a scarf? Exactly. But now I have a new question. If we have a Sizzlefin Trout, where is the freeze-fin trout? I mean, I guess that's the Chillfin, but like sizzle, freeze. I feel like freeze is better than chill. I don't know. Nintendo, you got some explaining to do. All right, next up we have Froak from Skyward Sword. And I just have to ask, what kind of name is that, Nintendo? Seriously, what the Froak? These little guys are spiky pufferfish enemies that don't actually attack you. Nope, they just kind of float around, existing. Like they got put in the game and immediately decided, nah, combat's not for me. I'm just gonna exist. Now, obviously, this is some kind of pufferfish, except what's with the crazy lips? Like, did this fish take up makeup tips from 90s cartoon villains? And here's the weird part. When it's puffed, it kind of looks like a frog. Oh, hence frog. Sure, let's just go with that. After some very serious scientific analysis, aka staring at fish pictures for way too long, we found the best match is the Longspine Porcupinefish. These guys are circumtropical, which is a fancy way of saying that they live in tropical waters all over the world. Basically, if you're swimming somewhere warm, there's a chance that one of these are out there with you, watching you, judging you. I'm not sure how I feel about being judged by a fish. They probably just think that I'm a big fish and that I probably need to lose weight. Oh, so they're just like regular people. One really interesting thing, though, is that the dark patches on their back actually shrink with age. So that means all the Froak in Skyward Sword are basically just well, teenagers, which kind of explains why they just float around awkwardly instead of actually doing anything. Oh, it also explains why the water smells so bad. I mean, they're teenagers. Yes, I am bringing a joke back from the fish, the prior fish. I'm bringing it back. Look, I'm in control here. You sit there and relax. But with the spines, colors, and behaviors all lining up, we actually believe pretty well we're calling it that the Froak is 100% a real fish. Next up, we have the mighty, mighty, mighty carp. These are fish found in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom. These dudes hang out in the waters of the Akala Highlands and Lenura Great Springs, just swimming around, minding their own business, till Link shows up and literally turns them into a protein-packed shake. That's right, because for some reason, the liver of this fish contains a chemical that makes Link absolutely jacked. Like, forget about training, forget about protein powder, just eat a mighty carp and boom, you are instantly Hyrule's strongest man. Now, in the real world, do fish livers give you muscles? No, they do not. But they do contain a ton of nutrients. So, maybe Zelda, Nintendo, was sort of onto something here. For the real world match, we're looking to the common carp. These guys are native to Europe and Asia and are one of the most popular fish in aquaculture. Yeah, aquaculture. It's actually a thing. That's right. So we farm these guys for food, which means maybe I don't need to work out anymore. Maybe I just start sitting around, getting me a carp farm started, eat some fish, and get swole like the Hylians. This is either a genius idea or an absolutely terrible one. Anyway, the fins, body shape, and even the way they're farmed for food all line up, so we're calling this one real. Shields up, because our next fish is the armored carp. These freshwater fish have hard calcium scales that make them tough like armor. And if Link cooks them up, boom, he instantly has a defense boost. Now, this little detail that Nintendo put in actually is pretty clever because real fish have scales that contain calcium carbonate, which helps them become hard and strong. So scientifically speaking, yeah, fish armor is kind of real. But is there an actually armored carp in the real world? Not exactly. But we did find the mirror carp. The mirror carp are a rare genetic mutation of the common carp, which we've already talked about. And while they've got a cool scale pattern down the side, they're not blue. And overall, it just doesn't feel like a great match. So after some careful scientific analysis, we're calling this one not a real fish. All right, next up from the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, we have the hearty salmon. These fish only live in the cold waters up in the mountains of Tabantha Frontier, which makes total sense because they're basically like walking sticks of butter. I just realized I said walking in that joke, and fish don't walk, they swim. Scripting can be really hard sometimes. I say that all because these fish are loaded with extra fat to keep them warm, which honestly, same. Winter hits and suddenly I am like the biggest hearty salmon. Look, I know, okay? Winter just ended. It'll get better. Give me a pass for now. Now looking at their body shape, our minds immediately jump to the Sockeye Salmon, especially when the Sockeye Salmon goes full on beast mode and starts to swim upstream in order to breed. But here's the catch. Their colors, they're way off. And considering Nintendo has used other fish designs in the past Zelda games where they, match way better, we're thinking the Sockeye Salmon isn't quite the right fit here. Final verdict, may be inspired by the Sockeye Salmon, but not an exact match. Whew, do you smell that? Whew, it's our next fish. It's called the Reekfish, and this fish actually matches up pretty well with the salmon. However, these guys are actually a rare species native to Zora's domain in Twilight Princess, hanging out in the waters near the mother and child rocks in the waterfall basin. And let's be honest, let's be real. The real world counterpart is blatantly obvious that this thing is a sockeye salmon. But here's where things get interesting. The sockeye salmon only looks like this once in their lives. For most of their lives, they're actually silvery blue and chilling out in the ocean, just living their best lives. But when it's time to breed, going full on beast mode, well, everything changes. Their hormones go absolutely wild and their bodies completely transform. They develop a hump of fat, they get a green face with a beak, and they turn bright red, like aggressively red. And then if they somehow get past grizzly bears, they finally reach a shallow upstream water to spawn. Spawning, like in a video game. Yeah. So with the color, shape, and migration patterns all lining up, we're calling this one the Reekfish. It actually equals up to be a sockeye salmon pretty well. Case closed. Next up, oh boy. All right, it's that time. We've been talking about fish for a little while, but now it's actually time to start talking about the fishing mini games in The Legend of Zelda. If you aren't aware of these, you're about to be very soon. Let's start with Majora's Mask 3D's fishing game. Now, some of you might already know this, and so it's a reminder to you if you already do, but when Nintendo was making Majora's Mask, they were on a massive time crunch originally. So to save time, they recycled a ton of assets from Ocarina of Time, which is why Termina looks so suspiciously familiar. But when they released the 3DS version, they must have thought, you know what this game really needs? A completely unnecessary amount of fishing game systems. Yes, because nothing says making a remastered like throwing in a bunch of fishing games. And man, oh boy, they went all in on this. And I have to say, like, I'm just completely getting footage of the fish in these mini games. I'm just going to say I don't have footage of all of them because the fishing mini games in Majora's Mask 3D is so bad. I'm just going to say it. They're just bad. I don't think they're fun. Maybe some of you have some really good nostalgic memories of the fishing games in Majora's Mask 3D. Yes, it is not fun. They are not fun games. I just don't know what else to tell you other than that they're unfun. You literally you're not sure what you're supposed to do when you're trying to reel in a fish. You're doing left and right and you're trying your best to move the fish towards you, but then you end up just having to like move it on land. So then that's how you catch it. And it's incredibly frustrating because the game doesn't do a huge, like, good job at showing you how to fish. And look, it's really bad. But here's what's hilarious is that the 3DS came out after Twilight Princess. And in Twilight Princess, the fishing game system in that game is great. It's fantastic. So I have no idea what made them decide to do a fishing game in the Majora's Mask 3DS game, but like not do it well. Like it's not fun. Oh, and then even worse than that, we'll get into the fish here in a second. But even worse than that, if you wanted particular to fish to spawn in your fishing game, you had to just walk in and out of the fishing hole till it did spawn. So literally the game incentivizes you to waste time. A game about trying to use your time the best that you can because you only have 3 days and the world ends. It wants you to waste time by going in and out of the freaking fishing hut so then you can potentially spawn the rare fish that it has. I don't care what anyone says. These fishing games are so bad. But man, I tell you what, Twilight Princess 1 is good, so at least we got that going for us when we finally get there. It's very frustrating, but at the same time, it's a weirdly addicting thing Maybe they were trying to go for a like a fishing mobile game. Anyway, first up, we have the swamp fishing game, and we have the fragrant Reekfish. Wait a second, didn't we already look at the Reekfish? And worst of all, this looks nothing like that Reekfish, like at all. All right, well, let's just roll with it. This fish is especially vulnerable when Link is wearing the Mask of Sense, which is oddly specific. Now, we really tried to find a match to this fish, a real fish, but honestly, nothing that we looked at really quite fit. The closest we could find was the round Goby. And while the color, size, and general vibes are kind of close, the body shape and the fins, they're just off. So we decided this one, he's not real. Glub, glub, glub. Did I really just make sad fish noises on YouTube? All right, next up we have the ancient fish. The ancient fish is actually way easier to catch when Link is wearing the Gibdo mask, which, okay, that's really weird. Why does dressing up like a cursed mummy make a fish easier to catch? Nintendo, what? But honestly, the moment we saw this fish, we knew exactly what it was. They have that 3-part tail and those thick lobed fins. Yeah, this is a oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever said this word in real life. Ooh, you're all gonna make fun of me. I already know. I'm gonna try my best. I don't look up these words prior to doing these videos. And Mama Goron's like literally like, why don't you look up the words and see how they're pronounced before going on and recording? And I told her the reason why I don't is because of the vast amount of information we're going through. There's no way I'm going to be able to remember exactly how every single thing is said perfectly 100% of the time. And I'm not about to just stop our recording here, our fun, so then I can learn to say Coelacanth. It's definitely not how you say that word, Coelacanth. Anyway, this is a lode fin fish, meaning they have a main bone in each fin, kind of like a leg. And our thought here is that they're more similar to the ancient fish than your typical fin flappers. Fin flappers. Yeah, I'm going with that. Fin flappers, that's cool. I want to be known as a fin flapper. Like, that sounds really neat. Although, I'm not sure if that's like, you know, one of the gangs you have to fight in West Side Story or something. The fin flappers. And here's where things get even cooler. For decades, scientists thought coelacanths were completely extinct, like dinosaur era extinct. Until one day, someone they just found one. Imagine thinking a species has been dead for millions of years, only for some fisherman to pull one up out of the water and say, oh, well, I've never seen this thing before. Do you guys know what it is? We specifically matched the ancient fish to the West Indian Ocean coelacanth. And honestly, it's a perfect match. Nintendo out here casually are dropping extinct fish in their games. All right, next up we have, come on Nintendo, get ready for some nightmare fuel, because this here is the Cuckoo fish. Yes, a fish with a chicken head. All right. I'm just gonna cut this straight off of the pass and check the notes here for what Mama Goron left us. I knew it wasn't a real fish, but I still Googled chicken fish. I have so many regrets. Oh no. Okay, folks, I'm gonna need you to help me pay for Mama Goron's therapy. So if you could like and subscribe to this video, that would be great, because this thing is absolutely terrifying. And don't go look up chicken fish if you can help it. If I do recall, though, in order to catch this fish in Majora's Mask, you need to have the Broman mask, which that's the mask that you play the flute with, and the little chicks follow you and they become adult cuckoos. So cool. I guess you have to use that mask to catch the cuckoo fish, but not a real fish. And do not Google chicken fish. Whatever you do, Okay, next up we have the ferocious Pirarucu. Ferocious Pikachu? Pikachu. Sounds very similar. And apparently these fish are most easily caught when Link is already reeling in another fish. Excuse me, but what kind of opportunistic nonsense is this, Nintendo? You're telling me this fish just waits until I'm distracted to make its move? Bold strategy, Pikachu. Pirarucu. Bold strategy indeed. Anyway, this is almost a perfect match for a fish called the Arapaima Gigas, also sometimes called the Pirarucu. And this is an absolute unit of a fish. It weighs 440 pounds. That's a big fish. And also, the Pirarucu, they breathe air. Yeah, you heard me right. These massive river monsters can't actually breathe underwater. Every 10 to 20 minutes, they have to surface in order to get some air. So, let's break this one down, shall we? The name checks out. Body shape, spot on. The fin pattern, yup, looks good. The whole I refuse to play by normal fish rules thing, yeah, absolutely accurate. So yeah, I think we're gonna say this one is 100,000% a real fish. It's time to bust a move because our next fish is the Groovy Carp. Yes, Groovy Carp, because nothing says funky fresh like a fish. This little guy shows up in the northern part of the swamp right below all the vegetation, just completely vibing. And honestly, we think this is actually another solid match for the common carp. Not only do they have a similar body shape and fin structure, but the real life common carp also loves to hang out in vegetation and reeds in shallow water. Basically, they're the introverts of the fish world. Just chilling in plants, avoiding social interaction, and refusing to get caught. Big respect. So yeah, this one, very easy. It's 100% real. All right, this next one is Lord Jabu-Jabu. Wait a minute. Wait. Sorry, I meant Lord, no. Chapu. Nintendo, come on. You had all this time to make a million new fish, and you just released Jabu-Jabu again in a Majora's Mask fishing game, and you didn't think we'd not notice? Anyway, this guy is apparently the king of the swamp, and it can only be caught with bait larger than 30 centimeters. Which begs the question, why is Link out here fishing with a whole chicken leg? And yeah, just like in Ocarina of Time, Chapu has the exact same model as Lord Jabu-Jabu. So once again, we're looking at some kind of weird northern pufferfish whale hybrid thing that makes zero biological sense. So what's the verdict on Jabu-Jabu here? Not a real fish. But I will say, I'm kind of digging this recycling program that Nintendo has. Next up, we've got Morahan. This fish is apparently way easier to catch when Link is wearing the Romani's mask. Because sure, nothing says fishing strategy like cow-themed alien abduction headgear. Now this one, it's an easy match. The Morahan is almost definitely based on the red-bellied piranha. These guys are native to the Amazon River basin and mostly snack on insects, worms, and other small fish. Now I know what you're thinking. Aren't piranhas like the most terrifying man-eating monsters that can strip a cow to the bone in seconds? And the answer is no. That's just some good old-fashioned Theodore Roosevelt propaganda. See, back in the day, Roosevelt took a trip to South America, and the locals there staged a whole dramatic show just for him, trapping piranhas in a small area and starving them for days. And then they tossed in a sacrificial cow just to impress the visiting President Roosevelt. And yeah, Roosevelt saw it. And you know what he did? He freaked out. I would too. And so he came home telling wild stories about the piranhas being unstoppable flesh-eating nightmares. And the myth? Well, it stuck around. But in reality, they're just fish. So with the body shape and colors lining up perfectly, we're gonna call this one 100% real. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. This next one just has me so angry. Like, I'm gonna go postal. Because the next one we have up is the postal salmon. Look, some of these intros are just gonna be interesting and you're just gonna have to deal with it. Yep, it's the postal salmon. And guess what? For some reason, this fish is easier to catch when Link is wearing the postman's hat. Because nothing says fish psychology like postal worker cosplay. Now, let's be real. Nintendo really loves their Sockeye Salmon. And yep, this is yet another match for the classic red fish. So verdict, yeah, postal salmon is 100% real. At this point, I'm like convinced that someone at Nintendo just really likes salmon, like a lot. I mean, not gonna lie though, I would love some salmon sushi. It's good. Like some salmon nigiri. Oh yeah, I'm all over that. All right, moving on, we have the sweet ranch fish. These little guys like to hang out in the side pond to the west of the swamp. And get this, it's only vulnerable after Link plays upon a song. Because apparently the fish in Termina have favorite songs. Who knew? Makes complete sense. Now this one is actually a tough match, but after some serious fish analysis, aka staring at fishing pictures for way too long and arguing about them, we settled on the yellow perch. But it wasn't an exact match. The yellow perch usually have distinct vertical stripes, which the sweet ranch fish doesn't at all. But the body shape, number of fins, the overall yellow color, that's pretty spot on. Plus, the yellow perch are super common in lakes and ponds, which lines up really well with the sweet ranch fish's swampy little hangout spot. So after some professional deliberation, my wife hitting me in the face, we decided, yep, this one's real. Next up, we've got ourselves the Termina bass. This fish can be caught anywhere in the swamp at any time, which honestly kind of sounds very boring after all the weird rules that we have for all the other fish we've talked about. Now, after some fish matching analysis here, we think that the best real-world match for this guy is the golden perch. Golden perch are freshwater fish found mostly in the Murray-Darling River system in Australia. Now here's a fun fact. Despite the name, they aren't actually true perch. They're part of a group called the temperate perch, which is science's fancy way of saying, it's close enough. These fish are super popular with anglers in Australia, and if you look at the body shape, fin placement, and golden yellow color, it's a solid match. So, final verdict, this fish is real. Oh man, looks like real is getting the lead over here. Would be a shame if there was suddenly like a bunch of fish in the Zelda games that were not real at all. Yep, would be an absolute shame. That's what we call foreshadowing in the biz. The Termina loach is loach. That's a weird name, right? I'm really used to seeing that one. Sounds like roach. Anyway, this fish only shows up around the stone pillar and can only be caught on the first and final days. Unless you're using a standard lure, in which case it's only catchable on the second day. What were the devs thinking? Like literally you have 3 days to basically, save the world, and there are parameters by which a fish can be caught. Why is this fish on some sort of weird 3-day cycle? Now, they say the reason is because on the second day it's raining and therefore the fish doesn't want to be caught the other way. Okay. After some deep fish research, we matched this to the forktail loach. It's the only loach we could find with a dorsal fin running the full length of its back. But the colors, well, in that obvious forked tail, just don't match up. So what's the verdict? We're gonna say it's not a real fish. Ugh. Thank goodness we're done with the Majora's Mask fishing game.
You mean there's another one? You're kidding me. They put 2 fishing games into Majora's Mask 3DS?
Great. Let's talk about the ocean fishing game now. That's right, Majora's Mask 3DS had a swamp fishing game and also an ocean fishing game. And so now it's time to go and talk about all of the ocean fish that you can get in Majora's Mask 3DS. First up, we've got the ambrosial amberjack. This fish hangs out in the northern part of the fishing area, right by the open sea. Just chilling, waiting, judging your fishing skills. And after some very serious fish analysis, we match this to the yellow-tailed amberjack. And honestly, it's a perfect match, which is really rare for us. Normally there's something wrong. That blue and white pattern, oh yeah, that's some high-level ocean camouflage. Here's how it works. If a predator looks up, they see the white belly blending in with the bright sky. If the predator is looking down, they are seeing the dark back, which is vanishing into the ocean. Basically, it's nature's invisibility cloak, but for fish. So the ambrosial amberjack, 100% real. You know Bashful from Snow White, one of those 7 dwarves? All right, now imagine him as a deep sea nightmare with many, many teeth. That's our next Zelda fish, the bashful angler. And honestly, I'd be bashful too if I looked like something the ocean forgot to finish rendering. These fish hang out near the sunken ships and are only vulnerable when Link wears the stone mask. Because ugly, I guess? I don't know. Why the stone mask? That makes no sense. And after some very unsettling research, we match this thing to the toothed sea devil, which is hands down the most cursed name for a fish I have ever heard. Seriously, what even is this? It looks like something you find under your bed in a horror movie. Huh. Anyway, the toothed sea devil is actually a type of anglerfish, which means it should have a creepy glowing lure on its head, except it doesn't? But here's the thing, this is the only anglerfish we could find with a long eel-like body shape. So verdict, it's kinda close, but nah. The teeth, body shape, and overall just cursed energy are spot on, but without the signature lantern, this just isn't a perfect match. So, sorry, bashful angler. You're staying out in the not real column. All right, next up we have the dancing sea bream. And for some reason, Link has better luck catching this when he's wearing Kamaro's mask. You know, the mask that makes you dance. Man, this game is weird. Now, the colors might be a little off, but we're thinking this actually is a solid match for the black bream. Black breams are omnivorous, native to Australia, and pretty popular with fishermen. And while their color isn't exact, they're often described having a golden brown to bronze color, which is pretty close to what we're seeing in the game. Plus the body shape and the fins, they match up perfectly. So despite the color difference, we're calling this one real. Right, next up in the ocean fishing game, we've got a fish that is just objectively awesome. We have the fairy fish. And as the name implies, these little guys are easiest to catch while wearing the Great Fairy's mask. The same mask that actually you use in order to catch fairies in the dungeons in Majora's Mask, so then you can eventually unlock the Great Fairy sword. Now, just like the ancient fish from the swamp fishing game, this one is very clearly a lobed fin fish. So our best match, it's the West Indian Ocean Coelacanth. But here's the problem. There are no bright pink coelacanths. And that weird dorsal fin, yeah, that's not a thing either. So after some very serious fish science, we had to conclude that this is not a real fish. But wait, we're not done. Because right after the fairy fish, we have the superior, more powerful form of the great fairy fish. Oh man, this thing is just gonna be incredible, right? Like, it's just gonna be pure majesty. A fish so stunning, it makes all other fish question their existence. And it's gonna look super awesome. What the heck is this? How does this fish look worse than the fairy fish? The normal fairy fish? It's supposed to be great. I feel scammed. I think I want my money back for Majora's Mask 3DS. All right, disappointment aside, based on its body shape, it's pretty clear that this is some kind of mud skipper. And mud skippers, oh, they're really awesome. These amphibious fish love to hang out on land, wiggling around like they own the place. But none of them are pink, and they definitely don't have weird antennae. So once again, we're gonna have to say the fairy fish, not a real fish. And the great one, not a real fish either. The Guta Goby is our next fish. This little guy sticks close to the shore, and after some scientific fish matchmaking, we think it's a solid match for the round goby. Now, gobies are a huge group of fish. There are over 2,000 species of gobies, and they all kind of look like they just skipped leg day for like ever. Except instead of legs, they just kind of look at their body. Look, it was a joke and I thought it was great at the time. Dang, this thing looks like it belongs in a bad Pixar movie with a head like that. But back to the round goby, body color matches, fin placement, solid, habitat, yep. Round gobies, they actually love shallow water, which is exactly where they show up in the game. So final verdict, yeah, it's a real fish. All right, next up we have a very flashy fish. We have the grand swordfish. This bad boy hangs out in the area with 6 platforms, but here's the catch. You can only reel it in as Goron Link or Fierce Deity Link. Because sure, let's just add bizarre fishing requirements at this point. On top of everything else, this fish looks seriously cool, and we think it's a perfect match for the Atlantic swordfish. Swordfish belong to the billfish family, which includes swordfish, sailfish, marlin, and spearfish. Huh. I just thought they were all fancy swordfish. Now let's talk about size, because these things are massive. Atlantic swordfish can grow up to 10 feet long and weigh 1,400 pounds. That's like 7 links stacked up on top of one another. And here's a fun fact. The adults don't have scales or teeth, which means if they ever did get into a sword fight, they'd be at like a serious disadvantage. Anyway, with that huge dorsal fin and that sword-like bill and the blue, yellow, and white body, this thing is a perfect match. All right, next up we have a fish that you'll never see coming. The ninja flounder. Get it? Never see it coming? Ninja flounder? These sneaky dudes show up near the sunken ships, but only if Link is wearing Garo's mask, because apparently flounders respect ninjas. Now, flounders are flatfish that chill at the bottom of the ocean, burning themselves sand camouflage. Then when their prey least expects it, boom, they strike. A lot of flounder species look super similar, but we match this one to the Gulf flounder. Gulf flounders love shallow ocean water and are expert stealth predators. Like, they're basically the solid snake of the fish world. With the body shape, stealth skills, and habitat all lining up, we're calling it. This fish, 100% real. You guys, I really was not kidding you when I said that I had to buy this in order to do this video. Like, this list is getting long. I don't even think we're halfway through yet. Next up, we have Neptuna. And thus, our journey begins into all the weird ways that Nintendo decided to spell tuna. Stay tuned. Tuna, anyone? Jokes for days over here. So Neptuna shows up in the fishing area with 6 platforms, and for some reason, it's most easily caught when Link is wearing the couple's mask, because obviously this fish respects commitment. Now, based on its body shape and colors, we think it's a close match to either the blackfin tuna or the skipjack tuna. Sure, the fins aren't quite right, but everything else, it's a pretty solid match. Blackfin tuna are tropical fish, and actually the smallest species of tuna. But don't let that fool you. They're absolute units. On average, these guys grow up to be about 46 pounds. And they're basically the size of a small dog. And they're ruthless hunters too, feasting on smaller fish, squid, and even shrimp. So yeah, final verdict, this one, it's real. Our next fish in the ocean fishing game is, look out, it's a shark! Oh wait, no, it's just the savage shark. And let's be real, I think we all know exactly where Nintendo got their inspiration for this one. The savage shark also shows up in the platform of the fishing area and is very clearly based on the great white shark. And honestly, great choice. Great whites are found in every major ocean on Earth and are easily the most notorious sharks out there. Not just because they're huge, but also because of their misunderstanding with humans. Yep, that's what we're gonna call it. Misunderstanding. Now, how big did these things get? Well, the largest great white shark ever captured was a massive female measuring 5.83 meters or 19.1 feet long and weighing in at 2,000 kilograms or 4,400 pounds. That's basically a bus with teeth. So this one, it's real. All right, next up, we have got another white fish, the Termina sea bass. These fish show up close to the shore in Majora's Mask, and after some serious fish matchmaking, we think they're a great match for the white bass. The colors, spot on. Fin number and size, near perfect. Overall shape, yep, pretty much identical. White bass are freshwater fish native to North America, and they're visual hunters, meaning they rely heavily on their sight to find their prey. That also makes them more likely to bite at live bait. So what's the verdict? Yeah, it's real. Up next, we have something that's a little more cursed. We have the skullfish. This thing lurks at the northern part of the ocean fishing area. And for some reason, Link is more likely to catch this thing while wearing the captain's hat. Because apparently fish skeletons really respect authority. Guys, this one's pretty easy. It's a skeleton. And you know what that means. Bone structure check. Yup, let's go through it. Spine. Yup. Ribs pointing up and down? Sure. Skull with teeth? Oh, definitely. Tail made out of tiny ray fin bones? Makes sense. But it's missing an important detail. Its fins, like all of them, and also, you know, it's dead. So while the bones are most likely in the right place, it's kind of impossible to match this to a real fish because of the fins. So we're gonna have to say that skullfish, not real, but definitely spooky. Whew. Thank goodness we are done with the Majora's Mask 3D fishing games. Seriously, that went on way too long and was just so crazy. But hey, you know, while we're on the topic of skeletal fish, let's take a look at some other spooky, bony, undead fish lurking throughout the Zelda series. First up, from the Adventure of Link, we've got Bago Bago and Fire Bago Bago. Then from Triforce Heroes, we've got the Sandfish, because apparently fish can just decide to swim through sand now. And finally, from Majora's Mask, we have Despreco. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I've never seen a skeletal fish swimming around in real life. And I definitely haven't seen one shoot fireballs or pull off a full-on dolphin dive. So yeah, as much as I'd love for the ghost fish to be real, we're calling all of these fish not real. Let's talk about some fish you might not expect. Seahorses. These little guys pop up throughout Majora's Mask, just chilling out in the background. But there are two in particular that play a big role in a quest. These seahorses live in Pinnacle Rock in Great Bay, but one of them has been captured by a fisherman and is stuck in a trade quest. So naturally, Link has to rescue this tiny aquatic hostage and reunite it with its friend. And after some serious seahorse research, we think these little guys are a perfect match for the Korean seahorse. Now, Korean seahorses actually come in a few different colors, including yellow, but we mainly picked this one because of its horn. See, the Korean seahorse is actually part of a group called the crown seahorses, which all have really cool little head spikes. And here's another fun fact. They're sexually dimorphic. All right, let's just throw that definition up there. This means that the females and males look different. In this case, males have longer tails than females. Very cool. In fact, so cool, they're 100% real and possibly the cutest fish in Zelda. Up next, we have a weird one. A fish that is not on any official Zelda fish lists. Meet the carnivorous fish from Majora's Mask. This thing just chills in a tank in the back of the Great Bay Research Lab. And if Link keeps feeding it, it grows and grows. So eventually it spits out a piece of heart, which honestly, totally worth it. We think this guy looks a lot like the eastern red scorpionfish. These spiky dudes live in the southwestern Pacific Ocean near New Zealand. And yeah, their name is the scorpionfish. It's very fitting because across all its fins, it's packing 16 toxic spines. Yup, just like snakes and scorpions, these guys have venom glands at the base of each spine. And one of those spines, if it punctures your skin, boom, venom injection. Yeah, not a fish you ever want to deal with. But with the body color, fin shape, and overall terrifying energy all lining up, we're calling this one on the real side. All right, next up we have, oh no. I think we should skip this one. I mean, you guys don't want to see it, right? 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 Ah, gosh dang it. This is the sea hat from the Wind Waker. These things are straight up nightmare fuel. They're fairly common enemies that use their fins like propellers to float above the water, which, yeah, that's not how fish work at all. Now, we really tried to find a real world match for these guys. We've tried. Maybe looking for like some feathery looking fins or like the lionfish spines, but the rest of this thing, absolutely not. So as much as I'd love to say that this monstrosity exists somewhere in the ocean, we're putting it in the not real column. The next fish is super cool and, oh yeah, it's the fish from our thumbnail. This is the flying fish from Phantom Hourglass. And honestly, this might be the first animal, and maybe only one, from Phantom Hourglass that I actually like. These fish hover in the water and try to ram straight into Link's ship. Luckily though, they're comically easy to defeat. One shot from Link's cannon and they're done. So, do real flying fish work like that? Absolutely not. They don't do that at all. But they do look a lot like the red gurnard. The red gurnard is a benthic fish, meaning it chills on the ocean floor, and mostly eats crustaceans, especially those from the crab family. But this is where things get really cool. Their pectoral fins are modified so they can use them like hands and fingers to walk along the ocean floor and feel around for food. And if that wasn't awesome enough, they've actually got extra pectoral fins that are brightly colored to startle predators. Oh, and one more thing, they can also use their fins to inject a mild poison. That's a lot of fin power. So with those wild fin abilities and general body color lining up, we're saying that the flying fish could totally be real. Now here we've got an absolute unit of a fish. The Krennic from Skyward Sword. And I mean, just look at this thing. It's got a forehead so big, it's probably smarter than me. I mean, really, that's a low bar. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's no way this guy is real. But guess what? It totally is. This fish is a dead ringer for the Bumphead Parrotfish. Not only do Bumphead Parrotfishes have that massive noggin, but they actually use it the same way the crocs do. They headbutt each other over territory disputes. Yeah, these fish literally fight by smashing their giant heads into one another. Oh, and it gets weirder. The front teeth of the parrotfish, they're fused together. So instead of normal teeth, they've got weird parrot-like beak that lets them bite straight into coral. That's right, they eat rocks. Imagine going to the restaurant and just ordering a plate of drywall. That's what the parrotfish is doing. But hey, it works for them. And with those big foreheads and those fused teeth lining up perfectly, we're saying it's a real fish. All right, next up we got Old Baron. Old Baron, this guy only shows up in the fishing spot when the pond is glowing. Because apparently he likes to be a little dramatic. The closest real world match that we could find was the big-nosed unicorn fish. I mean, just look at the schnozzle. But here's the problem. While the nose is on point, the fins and body shape, not even close. So we're gonna say this is not a real fish. But hey, if anyone knows of fish with a comically large nose and the right fins, let us know in the comments below, because we're pretty invested. Next up, we have the cloud piranha from the Minish Cap. And as the name suggests, these fish only live up in the clouds because, sure, why not? Apparently, Hyrule has sky piranhas now. Man, that's a very dangerous place. Whenever Link gets too close, they immediately leap in for an attack. Now, here's the thing. These aren't exactly accurate piranhas. The big spike on their head and the bright blue body, yeah, those don't match any known species. The closest thing we could find was the blue-spined unicorn fish, which, don't get me wrong, looks absolutely awesome, but in terms of an actual match, not even close. So yeah, as much as I'd love for sky piranhas to be real, or really not, this one, it's a no-go. Our next fish is actually a 3-for-1, because this is a fish that can't decide what it wants to be. The Gyorg appears in 3 different Zelda games. And somehow in each one, it looks completely different. First up, let's talk about Majora's Mask. It looks like this. It's kinda looking like a reef stonefish, or at least give me those vibes. But then also has the massive fangs like a Pyara, and then just even weirder, it's got a unicorn horn. I don't know what's going on here, but since this thing is a Frankensteinish fish of nightmares, we're not gonna call this one real. And let's be frank, if any of you have actually ever played Majora's Mask, then you probably know that this fish is the most annoying worst boss in all of the Zelda games. I'm not kidding you, it's horrible. The reason for that is, as you are Zora Link, you have to dive underneath the water and jump out of the water, which was very hard in the original Majora's Mask. I hate this fish. Now in the Minish Cap, Gyorg somehow evolves into, I don't even know what to say at this point. How did we go from a fish to a psychedelic eyeball stingray? Like, what happened for the design meeting for this one?
Hey, yeah, so we need to make Gyorg different in this one. What if we gave it 8 eyes and made it neon orange? And also it just kind of hovers.
So yeah, obviously this one is not a real fish either. And finally, let's talk about Wind Waker's Gyorg. In this one, Gyorg has become a shark. Okay, well, at least this is pretty recognizable. The closest thing we can match to this one, we found the Big Eye Sand Tiger Shark, which is a super cool name. But that's only because of the skin color. The real shark doesn't have a bunch of rocks on its head like Gaiorg here. And the colors, they're slightly off. And the fin shapes, yeah, not quite right. So despite getting closer to reality, we're calling this one not real either. So Gaiorg, maybe return to the drawing board and think about if you want to be a certain fish or not. Just pick one. All right, next up we have Malgaiorg. This shark shows up in Spirit Tracks, and let's be real, it's basically just a recolored version of the Wind Waker Gaiorg. But instead of swimming through water, these guys cruise through sand around the sand sanctuary. And honestly, these colors actually look a lot more realistic, even though it still has those real weird rocks on its head. We were finally able to match it to a real world shark. Say hello to the sandbar shark. The color, pretty spot on. Habitat, these guys love sandy ocean floors and shallow coastal waters. Diet, fish, rays, crabs, pretty much whatever fits in their mouth. But here's what really makes them stand out. They're extra tall dorsal fin. And that actually matches Malgaiorg surprisingly well. So with a solid color match and distinctive fin, we're calling it. This one, yeah, this one's real. Piranhas! Ah! Yeah, I mean, now they're less frightening after I've told the Theodora Roosevelt story, but these little chompers show up in multiple Zelda games, including Link's Awakening, Four Swords, Oracle of Seasons, and honestly, they all look super similar. Which makes sense because they're a solid match for the red-bellied piranha. Yep, this is the same fish that we mentioned with the Marana. You know, from the Majora's Mask fishing game. Glad we don't have to go back there. Clearly Nintendo has piranhas on the brain. And honestly, fair. They've got an iconic look and reputation, the teeth that could probably open up a can of soda. Yeah, these were very easy. They're a real fish all the way through. We've got a familiar face next up. And the first fish from the Twilight Princess fishing game. Let's take a second to appreciate this. The Twilight Princess fishing game. I love this fishing game. I'm gonna be real with you guys. This is such a better fishing game than the Majora's Mask one. And I can tell you, just playing it recently, it's so much fun to catch fish in this fishing game. I really wish they had done this kind of fishing game in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And maybe we'll see that in the next Zelda. Yeah, I said it's better than Majora's Mask, so fight me. I love it because it shows you on screen what you need to do in order to catch the fish. It's fun with a controller and a Wii remote from what I remember. I prefer the GameCube version of Twilight Princess. And it's leagues better than Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask fishing games. And our first fish, well, it's exploding right now in your face. The bombfish. I don't know if I should have chose those words. Exploding into your face. Just sounds wrong. This little guy even made its return in Echoes of Wisdom, which honestly, respect. When you catch these fish, you can hold onto them and use them like bombs. Because, sure, that's totally how fish work. Now, design-wise, we think these are similar to the red belly piranha. Teeth, definitely. Body shape, that's pretty close. General color scheme, yeah, it's good. We see it. But obviously it's not perfect. Mainly because real fish, they don't explode. So as much as we'd love to say that nature's own TNT here was a real fish, it's not. I know you guys are blown away by that verdict. Blown away. Next up in the Twilight Princess game, we have got the green gill. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure this fish is trying to hypnotize me. If I start buying way too many amiibos after this, you know what's been done to me. Now, this one is a tough match because, let's be real, the green spiral, yeah, that's definitely not natural. But after some serious fish research, we landed on the green gill sunfish. I mean, first off, the name is literally the same. But beyond that, body shape, it's a perfect match. Fin shape, it's pretty spot on. That kind of weird, unsettling vibe, yep, it's got that too. And here's something really cool. The greengill sunfish is actually a hybrid between the bluegill and the green sunfish, which means its coloration is super variable. So this one, we're gonna say it's real. The helium pike is the next fish on our list, and this fish could be caught either with the spinning lure or the frog lure, because apparently helium fish have refined tastes. And this one, well, it's a really easy match. We picked the American peckerel. Body shape, spot on. Little red fins, it's a perfect match. Overall predator energy, oh yeah. This fish, it means business. American peckerels are aggressive hunters native to North America, and they tend to hang out in slow-moving vegetative waters. Basically, if a pond looks a little swampy, these guys are probably in there plotting their next ambush. All right, our next two fish in the Twilight Princess fishing game. Oh, they've got style. Both have this super cool gold aesthetic, and at first glance, you'd probably think, nah, no way they're a real fish. But surprise, one of them actually is. First up, we're going to talk about the Ordon catfish. And believe it or not, is a fantastic match for the Omara catfish found in East Asia. Omara catfish are pretty common and actually make up a big part of the diet of a lot of rural Japanese communities. They're even farmed for food. But here's the catch. Catch, get it? They eat their own young. Yeah, just let that sink in. Look, I'm not here to judge, but that's gross. Still, weird eating habits aside, there's no denying it. This one's real. Our next golden fish is the Hylian loach. And this one's got a bit of an identity crisis because it shows up in two different Zelda fishing games, and somehow it looks completely different in each of those. First, in Twilight Princess, the Hylian loach has a model that looks a lot like the real-life Parakeet. We've already covered that one in Majora's Mask fishing game. But then in Ocarina of Time, the Hylian loach has a totally different body shape and fin layout. Like, what happened? Did the fish evolve mid-series? But here's the interesting part. The Ocarina of Time version actually looks way more like a real loach. Specifically, we matched it to the brown forked tail loach. Now, it's not like a perfect match, but the colors, they're pretty spot on. And the long dorsal fin running down the spine, yep, that lines up pretty well. And it definitely has that general loach energy. And get this, the brown fork-tailed loaches are super common in aquarium fish. They're tiny bottom-dwelling fish that love to hang out in slow-moving water. So even though there are two completely different models for this fish, we think they're both based on real fish. All right, we finally made it to the last fish in the Twilight Princess fishing game, the Hyrule bass. But here's the thing, this fish, it isn't just in Twilight Princess. Nope, it shows up in multiple Zelda games. And somehow in each game, it gets a completely different look. Nintendo, could you just do these, cool YouTubers a favor and maybe just keep them all the same? Cut it out. You're making it harder on me. All right, let's break it down. The Twilight Princess Hyrule bass, we're still rocking that gold and red swirly fish theme. And with the gold body and red fins, we think this is a solid match for the red-eye bass, native to the southeastern United States. It's considered rare and it's only found in a few upland rivers. Its fins start out greenish yellow and turn red with the age, which means that the Hyrule bass in Twilight Princess is an absolute senior citizen. But the one thing that doesn't quite match, well, its body shape. And honestly, that's probably because Nintendo just reused the same model from the Ocarina of Time. Which brings us to the Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Bass. All right, this fish, totally different look. Different fins, different colors, and honestly, it's a way better match for something like the yellow bass. Now the colors are kind of flipped upside down, but otherwise, yeah, we're seeing the inspiration here. Plus, the yellow bass are also native to southeastern United States and are considered a deep-bodied fish, which means that they're wider than the red-eyed bass, which are probably the inspiration for the body shape in both the Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess. Oh, but wait. The Hyrule Bass also shows up in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom. And of course, it's another completely different model. New fins, new colors, new shapes, but for this version, we found a perfect match. It almost seems like when they made the newer games, they kind of knew what they were looking for. This is the Chattahoochee bass, super rare and only found in parts of the southeastern United States. They live in rocky bottom streams and they hide near fallen wood. Basically, this fish is out here playing hide and seek like a pro. Final verdict, even though Nintendo gave us 3 completely different Hyrule Bass models, we were still able to match each of them to a real fish. So what does that mean? That means that the Hyrule Bass, it's 100% a real fish. The Staminoko Bass is another fish in the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom games. This one is actually pretty common. When Link cooks it, boom! Extra stamina, because apparently Zelda fish are also energy drinks. Now for a real world match. We dug through a ton of fish photos to try to find the best option here, and we ended up with the red drum. Technically, it's a type of sea bass, so that part checks out, but it doesn't have green fins. And honestly, it's just not a great match. Now, here's something really interesting though. The red drum actually look totally different when they're young. But when they're young, do they look anything like a Hyrule Bass? No, not even close. So as much as we'd like to say that this fish is real, we're calling it. The Staminoko Bass is not a real fish. The other kind of bass found in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is the hardy bass. Just like the Staminoko Bass, this fish shows up in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom. And once again, Nintendo really didn't try to hide what it does. The Staminoko Bass? Stamina. The hardy bass? Hearts. Look, at least they're consistent. Now, these fish are the most commonly found in waters of West Necluda and the Highlands. And design-wise, it's almost a perfect bass, except for one thing. It's blue. And here's the problem. There are no real-world blue basses. We tried. We looked at every bass we could find, and not one of them is blue. The closest match was the Chattahoochee bass again, but even then, it's not a great match. So as much as we love for our bright blue bass to be real, this one's going to be going in the not real column. This does bring up a really good point though. Looking at the fish of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they did a really great job, and I mean nailed it with the body shapes and number of fins for most of the fish. Even if they messed with the colors a little bit, they really just did a great job. Take our next 2 fish for an example. There are 2 types of porgies in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom. And you'll see in a second, they definitely played around with the colors. But they're both really good porgy shapes. The first is the mighty porgy. These guys like to hang out in the Necluda and the Naru Seas, just waiting for Link to scoop them up and turn them into a power boosting meal. After some fish matching, we landed on the red porgy. Now, Nintendo definitely took some creative liberties here with the super dramatic stripes, but everything else, well, the color checks out. Body shape looks solid. General porgy energy, Oh yeah, it's so porgy. Red porgies are demersal fish, meaning they like to chill on the sea floor, munching on the crustaceans and the mollusks. Oh, and here's a fun fact. They're hermaphrodites. Most start out as females when they're young, and eventually they grow to become males as they get older. So while we debate not calling them real because of the yellow fins and the exaggerated stripes, at the end of the day, we decided that the mighty porgy was real. Next up, we have the armored porgy. Now, this fish looks almost identical to the mighty porgy and can be found in all of the same places. So naturally, we went hunting for a real-world match. And the closest thing we could find, the sheep's head porgy. Now, this one does have a bit of a blue tint, which is why we picked it. But let's be honest here, this is not a good match. The color variations are all over the place, and some have black and white stripes, while some are entirely blue with spots. And some just look, well, completely different. Although that's just a Wikipedia picture, so maybe we shouldn't trust things that are found on the internet. Now we're sticking with this one. Not a real fish. Right, what do we have next here? Okay, this is going to get very complicated. Buckle up, Buttercup. Next, we have the Zora. These guys appear in Ocarina of Time, Oracles of Ages, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Echoes of Wisdom. The Zora are a race of fish-like people who worship Jabu-Jabu, who I've already talked about. He's fat, and if he puffed up too much, he'd probably flood all of Hyrule. And occasionally, the Zora help out or hinder Link, depending on his adventures. Here's the thing, just like Lord Jabu-Jabu at first glance, the Zora don't actually look like fish at all. And that's because of one key detail. They have flukes. Those flat horizontal tails that are coming off their head, those are flukes. And guess what? Only whales and dolphins have them. And those are mammals. And you know what whales and dolphins aren't? They aren't fish. Plus, the Zora don't even need water to breathe. So yeah, this whole they're fish theory is looking pretty weak. Honestly, we're about to write them off completely. But then, Rain the Scribe 2772 pointed something out interesting in our Reptiles of Zelda video. They asked, what is Yona? She looks different. And you know what? They're right. Here's the Zora and here's Yona. So let's break it down. Okay, so King Dorafin, first, let's look at him. He's got a fluke, which means he's a mammal. He's blue with vertical white stripes on his clothing, clearly modeled after a baleen whale. Baleen whales have expandable throats, so they can take in massive amounts of water and filter out food, and specifically, he looks like a blue whale. Now, best boy Sidon here, he has no fluke. Sidon has a vertical tail fin, and he also has this really cool hammerhead shaped head. Dorsal fins coming out of his tail as well. This guy, he's 100% a hammerhead shark. Now, Mipha is a bit different. She has a fluke, which means she's not a fish. And then finally, we get to Yona. Yona has a thin tail, flaps or wings on the side of her head. And then she also has horns. Best match for her is a devil ray. But hold on, devil rays aren't green, just like hammerhead sharks aren't red. So overall, we're saying that the sea Zoras aren't real fish. And I just want you guys to know, when you decide to comment on these videos, we read every single one of them. They're all fantastic. And that should go to show you that if you comment on one of our videos with an interesting question, you might appear in one of our videos. Okay, but what about River Zora? Because River Zoras look totally different. In fact, I always thought that the River Zoras looked a lot like the merman, horror creature from the 1950s. River Zoras are actually the original Zoras in The Legend of Zelda, and they've been around since the very first game. They show up in The Legend of Zelda, The Adventure of Link, A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, Four Swords Adventures, A Link Between Worlds, Echoes of Wisdom. That's a lot of games, right? Geez, these guys show up in all of them, basically. Unlike the sea Zoras, these guys don't live in the ocean. Instead, they pop up in rivers, lakes, and basically any water that isn't salt water. And visually, they're a whole different species. They've gone through a ton of design changes over the last 38 years, but the key features have always been bluish green bodies, fins on the side of their heads, big exaggerated lips. So what's the real world match for these guys? The closest thing we could find is the flathead catfish. The color, yeah, they can be greenish. Big mouths, oh yeah, they've got those. Orange lips, surprisingly, yeah. But here's the issue. Flathead catfish don't have massive side fins. And more importantly, they don't have arms and legs. So while we love the catfish comparison, we're calling it River Zoras. They're also not real. Sorry, Zoras. All right, next up, we got the Fishman from Wind Waker. And honestly, these guys have always confused me. The world is completely flooded, and somehow the Zora, the water people, had just evolved to have wings and evolved to survive the flood. Meanwhile, we get a whole new race of actual fish people. Nintendo, how do you explain this? Anyway, these guys are actually fish. While sailing around, Link can chat with the Fishman, and they'll help him fill out his sea chart, which is great because otherwise we'd be out there lost at sea living out in a Zelda version of Castaway, which actually kind of sounds like fun. Oh, that's Breath of the Wild. Now these guys are really tough to match to real world fish. The closest thing we could find was the Atlantic mahi-mahi, specifically the female mahi-mahi because they're blue instead of green. We based this match on the shape of the head, the overall blue coloring, and well, just the general fish energy that this thing puts off. But there is a problem. The fins are totally wrong. The eyes, they're huge. And honestly, Fishmen, they just look absolutely wild. So while we tried really hard to make this work, we're calling it. The Fishmen, they're not real. Have you ever looked up into the sky and thought, you know what would make that better? More fish. Actually, now that I think of it, that actually might be kind of cool. Well, lucky for us, Zelda already did it. Because the next two fish, they both live in the sky. And I'm talking about Levias from Skyward Sword and the Wind Waker, and the Windfish from Link's Awakening. First up, let's talk about Levias. This guy is the great sky spirit that acts as the protector of the skies. And let's be real, the quest where you have to get pumpkin soup for a giant sky whale is one of the strangest missions in all of Zelda. Now let's look at the obvious here. Levias has a fluke. And as we've seen before, Nintendo loves giving whales those signature tails, which means he's not a fish. Also, what's up with all the eyeballs? But here's something we did love. Levias has a massive beard and actually pretty much looks very cool, like a baleen. Baleen whales have comb-like bristles in their mouths instead of teeth to filter the feed when they feed on plankton. So yeah, it's really nice touch from Nintendo's designers, but at the end of the day, nah, it's still not a fish. So what about the Windfish? Well, the Windfish is yet another flying whale. This time, he chills at the top of Mount Tamaranch on Coelacanth Island. And let's be real, this dude is clearly a whale, which is a mammal. From his massive mouth to his tail fluke, he is all whale all day long. But the real question is, what kind of whale is he? Well, going off the color alone, we think he would be a beluga whale. But here's the problem. Belugas have teeth. And as we can see in his sprite art, the Windfish has baleen. So our best match, a right whale. Right whales are some of the biggest baleen whales on the planet, and their body shape is a perfect match. But of course, whales are mammals and therefore not fish. It is at this point we would have ran out of room on my other whiteboard. Yeah. Okay, enough about whales. Tell me Mama Goron put some normal fish into here. Right. The next fish is in Monbo from Link's Awakening. Monbo is a massive fish who just chills in a cave all day. And honestly, I would too if I were him. If Link has the ocarina, Monbo teaches him how to play Monbo's Mambo, which, oh man, this song is a lifesaver. It lets Link warp directly to dungeon entrances, which means no more do you have to do the long treks back through a dungeon where you could possibly die in the most embarrassing way possible. I'm looking at you, Bottomless Pits. Now, if you watched our recent Animals of Nintendo video, you already know exactly what a Monbo is. We didn't mention him specifically, but Nintendo loves the ocean sunfish. Seriously, every single Nintendo franchise that has fish includes some kind of ocean sunfish. And honestly, we get it. Ocean sunfish are the largest bony fish in the world, and they can grow up to 10 feet long, and they can weigh up to 2 tons, like a car. They don't even have tails, which gives them super iconic, weirdly adorable disc-like shapes. So yeah, looking at all the details, the Monbo, it's a real fish. All right, next up we have Cheep Cheep. And yep, this is another example of Nintendo recycling assets. Cheep Cheep first appeared in Mario all the way back in 1986. But they didn't show up in Zelda until 1993. And once they arrived, well, they never left. The Cheep Cheep can be found in Link's Awakening, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, Four Swords Adventures, and here's something cool. They only appear in the side-scrolling areas, which, honestly, I always thought were fun additions to the little dungeons that we did back in the day. Now, when it comes to matching this guy to a real-world fish, this one's pretty tough. The Cheep Cheep is super cartoony, just a generic red fish with big eyes. The best match we could come up with is a goldfish, but even then, it's not great. So at the end of the day, we're calling it Cheep Cheep. It's not real. All right, speaking of generic fish, sometimes Nintendo didn't even bother naming their fish. Yep, they just labeled them fish and that's it. And somehow, they don't even look the same across games. So let's break that down. We've got nameless fish appearing in Ocarina of Time, Spirit Tracks, Link's Awakening, and after some fish detective work, here's what we found. The Ocarina of Time fish looks a lot like the blue chromis. These are small, bright blue fish that are super popular in aquariums. And well, considering we're working with tiny pixelated blue fish, yeah, that checks out. Now the Spirit Tracks fish is a yellowfin tuna. This one absolutely is a perfect match. Plus, they're amazing sushi and have incredible ability to raise their body temperature above water temperature. But they're not technically warm-blooded, but most fish can't do that. And finally, we're talking about the Link's Awakening fish. Yeah, this one's a stretch. The closest we could find was the yellowfin foxfish, but honestly, it's not a great match. So after all that, we're calling it 2 out of 3 are real. That one foxfish one, nah. Right, time to roll up our sleeves because we've got to talk about the last fishing game in the Zelda series. We're talking about Phantom Hourglass's fishing game. First up, we're talking about Lure. And after some serious detective work for this fish, we think Lure looks most like a red drum. But if the pink were actually red instead, the problem? Louver has green fins and a much wider body shape, which, yeah, that's just not how red drums work. So while we appreciate the effort, we're calling it not a real fish. All right, next up we have Neptuna. This is one of the biggest fish that you can catch in Phantom Hourglass, and also the rarest and hardest to reel in. Now we match Neptuna to the black marlin. Why? Well, it's huge. It's got that sleek, powerful body, and of course, it's black. But there's a problem. Neptuna also has a saw-like teeth on its bill, and that's not a marlin trait. That's actually something that you see on a sawfish, which means if Neptuna is supposed to be a sawfish, there's no such thing as a black one. So as much as we love this absolute unit of a fish, we're calling it not real. The Phantom Hourglass has another billfish in its game, in particularly its fishing game, the rusty swordfish. This one is basically a reddish version of Neptuna, but without the saw-like teeth. So we matched it to the striped marlin. Striped marlin is the only billfish that comes in a reddish tint, which makes it a strong contender. But here's the problem. They aren't always red, and more importantly, it's missing the obvious stripes. So even though it's close, we're calling it not a real fish. All right, next up we have Skippyjack. What a happy and lovely name this one has. And honestly, we're feeling pretty confident about this one because there is a real fish called the skipjack tuna. But then we took a closer look and yeah, it's not quite right. With its yellow fins, we actually think it's closer to a blackfin tuna. Then you throw in the blue face, pink lips, and extra blue patterns. And at that point, we had to admit defeat. So while we appreciate the effort, we're calling it this not a real fish. Time to stow away this next fish, the stowfish. And look at that. We have a note from Mama Goron. She says, oh boy. I can tell you right now, she's not happy. It's a whale, another fluffing whale, and it's green with pink purple lips. This is a monstrosity. Something that should have died when Hyrule was flooded. Because ew, come on Nintendo, give me a break. Also, please like and subscribe to help with the trauma. Well, she does have a point. It is quite ugly and not real. And finishing up the Phantom Hourglass fishing game, we have tuna. Now, this fish is an exact same body shape as Skippyjack, which we just covered, but with completely different colors. The closest match we could find is the Flame Snapper, but honestly, the body shape and fins are way off. So as much as we tried to make this one work, we just couldn't. Wait, so there were 6 fish in Phantom Hourglass, and all 6 were not real. Ouch. What does that say about that game, right? What does that say about that game? Nintendo, we need to talk, and you need to do better. Oh wait though, hey, wait. There is actually one fish that is not in the Phantom Hourglass fishing game, and we need to cover him now. Surely this fish will redeem it, right? This one has to be the fish that will be real in the game. It will be the fish. To be of all fish, it'll look like the... Great. More trauma. All right, well, next up we've got Massive Eye. This boss attacks the SS lineback when it's close to the dock at Goron Island. And yeah, it's literally just a bunch of eyeballs. Now, we did match this to the epaulet shark because of the large spots on their sides to confuse predators, which is a solid survival strategy. Because if a predator can't tell where your head is, they don't know really where to attack. But let's be real here. We all know where this is going. This is not a real fish. And geez, Phantom Hourglass, you're hurting Zelda right now. All right, let's move back to the good old days, yeah? We've got Shark from the Ocarina of Time. This guy can be spotted when Link dives into the pool inside the lakeside laboratory. And if you swim down far enough, boom, there he is. But here's the weird part. It's locked behind a set of bars. Why? Who put this shark in prison? What did it do? Honestly, I have so many questions. But what I don't question, what kind of shark it is, because this thing is clearly a great white shark, and it almost looks identical to the one in Majora's Mask fishing game. So yeah, there's really no debate here. All right, next up, we've got Stinger. These little nightmares can be found inside Jabu-Jabu's belly in Ocarina of Time. And let me tell you, these things are nasty. They hunt in packs and swarm at the first sign of movement. Because apparently, being trapped in a giant fish stomach wasn't enough stressful already. You have to deal with these things. Now, obviously, this is some kind of stingray, but here's the thing. There aren't any green or orange stingrays. And those weird tassels on their wings, yeah, that's not a thing either. The closest real world match that we could find was the bat ray. And look, they're adorable. But even though they're the solid design inspiration behind this, Stinger is not a real fish. Anglerfish appear in both the Link's Awakening and the Oracle of Ages. And in true Zelda fashion, they're either a boss or a sub-boss. Because of course they are. Now, real world anglerfish, there are over 300 species. But after some serious fish matchmaking, we think the Zelda version looks most like the humpback sea devil. And let me tell you, the fish absolutely lives up to its name. The humpback sea devil is the most widely distributed sea devil, and it tends to live in shallower waters. I mean, relatively speaking, they're chilling at around 1,000 feet deep, which means pitch black. And that's exactly why they have cool little lights on their heads. That light, it's called an Esca, and it's packed with bioluminescent bacteria that help them lure in prey. And the Zelda version? Short Esca? Check. Similar fins? Yup. And overall terrifying energy? Oh yeah, I'd say it's there. So the verdict on the anglerfish is 1000% this is a real fish. Speaking of anglerfish, there are tiny anglerfish that actually help in Link's Awakening in a boss fight. But they don't help you, they help the boss. These tiny little fish Nintendo calls angler fry, and they're implying that they're just baby fish. But actually, we think they may be something way weirder. Specifically, male humpback sea devils. See, in the real world, female anglerfish are massive, like up to 60 times bigger than male ones. And because of that, males don't exactly live normal fish lives. Instead, they do something super weird and kind of gross. When a male finds a female, he bites her, and then he fuses to her body. Yeah, like forever. Talk about dedication. Over time, he literally merges with her flesh, losing his eyes, his fins, everything except his breeding organs. So given all that, the anglerfish boss is most certainly female, and the tiny ones, they might not be babies at all. They could just be clingy little boyfriends. But regardless, the angler fry, they're real. Oh man, I'm really having to bend down now to write these in. Oh, it's going all the way to the bottom. Let's go. This is supposed to be the descendant of Lord Jabu-Jabu. His name is Jaban, and is known in this game as the water spirit. But here's the problem. We already established that Lord Jabu-Jabu is a whale. And this guy, Jaban, yeah, he's definitely a fish. So, someone's lying. Looks like we're gonna need to fire up Ancestor.com and figure out where Jaban actually came from. Now, after some serious fish detective work, we think Jaban looks most like the Buphosauritius Wedley. The Buphosauritius Wedley. What a name. Look, just go ahead and make fun of me in the comments, all right? But if you do, maybe consider liking the video first. Anyway, this anglerfish has a long Esca and a somewhat similar body shape. But here's the catch. Nintendo took a whale's body and just slapped fish fins on it. So at the end of the day, we're calling it not a real fish. Have you guys played Echoes of Wisdom yet? I started playing it and I'll just be real, it really wasn't for me. I mean, it's very cool. I love the idea of playing as Zelda, but it just was not for me. But how much I did play, I did see this next character. Did you see the second boss in the Jabun Waters? Vocaver is a weird purple monster, and I am not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting another anglerfish here. Oh, I'm glad they changed it up. We actually had a hard time matching Vocaver with something. His legs and eyes are giving us like shrimp vibes, and the pods on his back almost look like parasitic wasp eggs on a caterpillar. Yeah, it's weird. It's super weird, man. But if we had to pick one real world animal to match Vocaver to, we're picking the Spanish Shaw nudibranch. Nudibranches are sea snails, and those bright colored things, they're called cerata. And believe it or not, that's actually how they breathe. But nudibranches don't have legs. And since Vocaver is running around like an absolute menace, we have to call it. It's not a real fish. All right, next up, we are returning to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. We're talking about the Voltfin Trout. Finally, some normal looking fish after all those weird ones. The Voltfin Trout grants shock resistance when cooked because apparently eating an electric fish makes you immune to electricity. Sure, that's totally how biology works. You can find these guys swimming in the waters at Hyrule Ridge and the Tavantha Frontier. This one is really hard to match, but after some serious fish research, the best candidate we could find was the cutthroat trout. And I know what you're thinking. Wait, is this just a pun? Was this really just a joke about how hard it was to match? Man, tough crowd. You might say it's really cutthroat. Anyway, there are 15 species of cutthroat trout. Coolest name ever. Their coloration varies a lot depending on where they live. So while it's not a perfect match, we're calling it the Voltfin Trout. Yeah, it's real. It matches very well with the cutthroat trout. And our next fish looks very similar. It is the Stealthfin Trout. These fish can be found in Great Hyrule Forest, Elden Mountains, and Lake Meeker. And they glow at night. Not very stealthy if you ask me. Now, the closest thing in the real world that we could find is the lake trout. But as you can see, this isn't a great match because, well, it's not blue. Turns out bright blue fish are pretty hard to find. Or maybe that's the whole point. Maybe it is stealthy. Conspiracy. Yeah, look, we tried really hard to try to make this one work, but we couldn't find a fish to match to it. So Stealthfin Trout, not real. Oh man, guys, I'm leaning now to put down names on this stuff. I'm like having to lean down now to put names down there. That's okay, because we are on our very last fish. Yeah, it's been a long journey. Finally, for our very last fish, we have something very cool. The Sockeye Carp. These brightly colored fish are found exclusively at the base of Lantern Falls in Koriko Village in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom. They're a subspecies of armored carp, and when eaten, you get no special effects whatsoever. So you might be wondering, why do we think they're cool? Well, these fish have actually been bred as ornamental fish by the people of Koriko Village. And if that sounds familiar, it's because this is a massive deal in Japan. You may already know, but breeding ornamental fish has deep cultural significance, especially when it comes to the koi, which literally translates to carp. Now, according to our research notes, there are literally a million bajillion varieties of koi, but almost all of them are some combo of white, red, orange, and black. And guess what? That color palette matches the Sockeye Carp perfectly. So yeah, Nintendo 100% took inspiration from the koi industry when designing the Sockeye Carp. Specifically, we think they may have named it after Tasho Sankei Utsurimono Koi variety. You know, after this many fish, trying to pronounce things is really hard. I am so sorry if I have butchered that name, but you can look it up. Now, it's not a perfect match, but with the colors, the captive breeding, and the name, we are going to say that the last fish on this whole video is real. The Sockeye Carp, we are saying, is a real fish. Ladies and gentlemen, fishermen and fisherwomen, we have gone through 88 fish that we have found in the Legend of Zelda series. 88. An astronomical amount of research was conducted for this video. Literally months. And all of this was to finally answer one question. How many fish in the Legend of Zelda series are actually real? Actually based on real fish? And the answer is 54.4% of the fish in the Legend of Zelda series are actually real. I was really surprised by this answer. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you can look here at the board. I was really surprised by the number. I believe that this is actually very close to the lowest number that we've gotten yet in our Zelda Real series. And probably this was most likely due to the fact that Phantom Hourglass had like 6 fake fish in it. I think without Phantom Hourglass, it would have done a lot better. But this research took an astronomical amount of time. And I just thank you all so much for being so patient with us. When we go and we do this research, we really want to make sure that we're getting everything that we possibly can right, that we're trying to bring you guys as much details about the game animal as well as the real life animal that it's like. We want to make it interesting for you all, and it takes a long time to do that, but I'm so happy that we were able to complete this and to get through it. I mean, that's a lot of fish. The Zelda games included in this research are The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Four Swords, The Wind Waker, Four Swords Adventure, The Minish Cap, Twilight Princess, Phantom Hourglass, Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, Majora's Mask 3DS, Triforce Heroes, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Echoes of Wisdom. I have to thank Mama Goron for all this research. She did an amazing job spending hours and hours, day after day, researching fish in Zelda and their real life equivalents. I mean, I helped every so often, but she absolutely is incredible, and she did the bulk of the work. As many of you know already, Mama Goron is a published doctor in animal behavior and biology. She's an ornithologist and quite literally has Cinderella birds from the sky. No, I am not joking when I say that. She has actually done that. So if you liked anything in this video and even got a little bit of enjoyment out of it, please think about liking the video just to show how much you appreciated her research. And as for me, well, I'm just a silly Goron. I write scripts, I make stupid jokes, I film, and I edit. And I do really bad writing, obviously. And so I hope so much that all of you have found enjoyment in this video, because it really means a lot to us, and we think it means a lot to all of you as well. We hope that you found a ton of enjoyment. That was a lot of fish, guys. Well, Please let us know down in the comments below what your favorite fish was. What was the one you were most surprised about? I look forward to reading all your comments on it. Every single time we do one of these videos, I love to read y'all's comments. It's so good. Anyway, my name is Papa Goron. Thank you so much, so much for watching. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Man, I'm going to need a bigger whiteboard, aren't I? I just bought this one too. Do you guys think like I could return it? Like, I mean, it'd be kind of weird that they like, you know, it shows up and it's got all this writing on there, but I think I could probably return it. It just like shows up at someone's front door, you know, after they order it and they just see a bunch of like names and stuff. Wait a second. Does that say real? Like REEL? Mama Goron! Ah! Literally the whole video.